tubig. Bukod doon, paano natin, wag natin naman sana tinatapon yung tubig dahil kailangan na natin yung tubig na yan. So, gumagawa rin kami ng paraan para maipon ang tubig. Naghahanap ngayon kami ng mga lugar sa labas ng Maynila kung saan pwedeng maglagay ng mga malaking large impounding na areas para doon natin kukontrolin, hindi napapasok dito sa Maynila at meron pa tayong naipon na tubig para sa agrikultura, para sa iba't ibang gamit. So, yun ang aming ginagawa. Patuloy pa
Hindi
rin.
po kami pinakikinggan ng DPWH. In so many words, right? Did you say that? Or is it my own words? You said there was a plan, you presented it to DPWH, and I said, so what happened? Kasi hindi dapat scientific, nature-based, science-based ang construction. Hindi naman lahat kailangan semento, iba nature-based. But I'll go to that later. But you said that DNR had a plan because I put all the water agencies together and I was asking them one by one. It took us the whole day. Anyway, and you said you had a plan, not you personally, the department submitted to DPWH, but it was not heeded. Am I accurate in my remembering what happened a few weeks ago, Undersecretary David?
Mr. Chair, that was in the context of a meeting I had in 2024 with officials of the DPWH, wherein we were planning for convergence projects. And these are projects that have multiple benefits for flooding, for water supply, irrigation, and so on. DNR and NIA submitted a list of convergence projects to DPWH, but they were not considered during that time.
Pakipaliwanag po, DNR, NIA, and all the water agencies, should there not be clear coordination between the water agencies, and should there not be environment impact assessment for all the flood mitigation measures? Should there not be ECCs granted for all the flood control projects, whether it's a dike, a revetment? And to be fair, as a climate adaptation advocate for 3 decades now, flood mitigation, flood control is a climate adaptation measure. But hindi naman kailangan puro semento. I may nature-based solutions, the others naman are infrastructure. So hindi natin minamasama ang flood control na tama yung paggawa. So kindly explain, and do you have a short, I don't know if you have the time for a presentation, but
Mr. Chair, I have a 15-minute presentation. It's 2 pages long, so baka iklihan ko na lang.
Chair, wag na 15 minutes, 5
sige.
minutes.
Bilisan ko na lang.
Ganun mo lang. Pakita mo lang, and then we just want to know from the agency, DPWH, if indeed you received it, and what happened, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe there shouldn't be coordination, maybe you should stand alone and ignore DNR, but in my mind and in my work for decades, I know that infrastructure must take into consideration the natural ecosystem around it. You just don't build a dike without knowing where the water goes. And we cannot fight the water. Kailangan may mga small water impounding, kailangan may mga rain gardens, kailangan may yung pababa, sinasabi ni Sec Babe Singson. Oo, so yes, Sec Dizon.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to my friend, Undersecretary CP, but Senator Gigarda, Mr. Chair, is absolutely correct. And just to emphasize, for the projects that we have visited and investigated, wala pong ni isang flood control project na may ECC. Wala. Ni isa. Exactly. Yun din po ang tanong namin, ma'am. Yung pong mga binisita ni Presidente, yung mga binisita namin, na iniimbestiga namin ngayon, wala pong ECC. Yun po, wala pong ECC yung mga proyektong yan. So, and I could not agree more with Senator Gigarda, Mr. Chairman. Ma'am, to be quite frank, wala nga pong building permit sa LGU . Yung pong sa Mindoro, yung pong ginawa po doon ng, sa Nauhan, sa bayan mismo ng governor ng Mindoro, ng Oriental Mindoro. Si Governor, yung pong ginawa ng Sunwest at St. Timothy at Alpha Omega. Elite. Wala pong building permit, wala pong ECC. Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, and we could not agree more with Senator Gigarda's observations. Thank you po.
Thank you, Secretary. Yusek, pwedeng pakita mo lang yung 15 minutes mo. Pag sabi ng chair na mag-stop, stop na.
Yes, mabilis
Kung,
lang.
5 minutes mo.
Mabilis.
3 minutes. Sige,
Actually, Mr. Chair, sinulat ko na para wala ng ad-lib dito. Okay, next slide please. The DNR, through the Water Resources Management Office, serves as co-chair of the DepDev Infrastructure Committee on the Subcommittee on Water Resources. The SCWR advocates for increased investment in the water sector, aims to reduce duplication of government projects, and promotes accountability and project convergence among the different departments. Next slide, please. In 2023, and this is where everything started, the DPWH submitted 304 billion worth of flood control projects and 14 billion worth of solar water supply projects to the SCWR, which I co-chair, for inclusion in the DBM program convergence budgeting. Next slide, please. The subcommittee requested additional documentation from DPWH, such as master plans and project impact assessments, and agreed as a group that these projects need to be monitored as part of its coordination and policy oversight functions of the SCWR, similar to what we are doing with the other water projects in the different departments. Next slide, please. And so in the beginning of 2024, we started monitoring the flood control projects using DNR regional personnel supported by satellite technology, and this is one tool that I'm promoting that DPWH and other agencies need to utilize. This photo was taken on October 23, 2025, which can clearly mark the start and end of any infrastructure project, may it be a dike or a road or a building. And in terms of identification, it is very, very easy. Next slide, please. We use geospatial data analytics and artificial intelligence in monitoring projects. Since then, we have assessed over 5,300 flood control projects like this one you are seeing, implemented from 2021 to 2024. Next slide. All findings are compiled in an online dashboard that has been shared with PMS, DBM, and DPWH, allowing validation of our assessments on the ground. Next slide. We classify projects into three categories. Validated, meaning they are confirmed to exist and effectively protect communities from flooding. This is about 23% of all the projects that we have assessed. Ghost projects actually come in many forms, not just those that are unconstructed, but also those that are duplicated within the same funding year or in previous years. Projects that are located in invalid sites wherein there are no rivers or creeks, or also incomplete wherein the prescribed length is actually much shorter than what is funded. The third kind, next slide please, which I wish to focus on, are the poorly situated projects. Here's an example pala of multiple projects in a single river. Ito yung nakakalitong pinag-uusapan kanina. In this slide, in Kamiling River, you will see 8 projects now funded in different years with different funding. But if you plot it in a map like this, you will readily see that there are overlaps in the projects. And when you compute for the length versus the total amount, for example, the 99 million pin over there should stop at the next pin, which is 98.5 million. That length is only 200 meters, which means that the dike has a unit linear cost of about 500,000 per linear square meter. No, so it is only through geospatial data such as this that you will see some of the other problematic issues related to flood control. Next slide, please. The poorly situated projects are, in my personal opinion, are more important even compared to the ghost projects that we have been investigating. Every time we constrict, block, divert, or alter natural waterways, we change the velocity and volume of water flow. In this particular case, in New Bataan, Davao de Oro, it is clearly seen that the dike constricts the river, makes it straight, no, instead of meandering, and the effect of this is that the flow of water actually becomes faster, and the volume of water that will normally spread, no, throughout its floodplain will now be diverted further downstream, creating more floods downstream. Next slide, please. In effect, constructing river dikes to protect one area often transfers the flood risk to another area. Here's another example in Tarlac, wherein there are two dike projects that obviously weren't coordinated to each other. The river flows from left to right, and because there is a gap in the dikes that were constructed during the rainy season, it is even more possible that the water enters into the community, no, where in fact previously they probably get flooded, but this time it's actually exacerbated. Next slide, please. Some projects do not put any harm, no, but are poorly situated because they do not function as a flood control structure. In this particular case, there is water on both sides of the dike, and therefore you're not protecting either side if there's water on both sides. Next slide, please. This one is a small creek that leads into a bigger river. The dikes looks like they were properly constructed. In fact, they are thicker than the creek itself, but they are not protecting any vital assets because on both sides, no, these are idle lands. No, this is the result of poor planning, and there are definitely other areas that require protection. Next slide, please. This one I wish DPWH would look further into, because we're not an investigating party in this flood control issue, but we transfer everything to those that are investigating, whether it be the Blue Ribbon Committee, DPWH, or the ICI. This is a flood control project within Laguna de Bay. But if you look at the satellite images, they are actually reclamation projects within the lake, right along C6. And so this is a different kind of issue because there are much more permits, environmental impact. Maybe it even causes further flooding within the Laguna Lake area when you do reclamation projects. Next slide, please. There are many, there is far more to be uncovered from the data, and we leave this to those conducting deeper investigations. It also exposes the cost of poorly planned infrastructure. I therefore recommend to this committee that government institutionalize a centralized project database similar to Sumbong sa Pangulo, or DBM's Project Dime, or the Sandata system, or even our own dashboard that we developed in DNR. This will promote better planning, transparency, and accountability across implementing agencies. More importantly, this will assist Congress in allocating funds under the GAA. I also urge the legislature to support a new type of flood control projects. Next slide, please. We have drafted a National Flood Management Master Plan, which should be harmonized with that of DPWH. We advanced the IWRM approach, Integrated Water Resources Management approach. We recognize water as a vital national asset, one that includes even floodwaters, which when harnessed can be used for water supply, irrigation, hydropower, aquaculture, and other productive uses. The principles are very simple, nature-based, protect our watersheds, keep our waterways clear, create natural flood buffers. Instead of diverting water into the ocean, we should impound using man-made lakes, reservoirs, aquifer infiltration, dams, and underground cisterns. Land use planning cannot be highlighted enough. Development away from flood-prone areas, promote open spaces, and effective LGU policies. And therefore, gray infrastructure is a vital component of this strategy, but it should be cost-effective, properly placed, and that maintenance is built in. Next slide, please. In the past, we were constructing man-made lakes for reservoirs for various purposes, whether it be aquaculture or irrigation. We wish to push forward with these kinds of projects. This is one example in Tarlac. Next slide, please. This is a proposed man-made lake in Angat River that will reduce the flooding in the Bulacan area, such as Kalumpit. Next slide, please. This year, we initiated feasibility studies for 21 of these kinds of projects. These are not yet included in our proposed budget in DNR, as we are completing the studies, consulting the concerned LGUs, and securing the necessary permits, including our own ECC. We wish to develop these projects further with the new team in DPWH, but we believe that, such as this example, this is called Lake 77 in Bislig, Surigao del Sur. It's 77 hectares in size, constructed in 1977. It is now used for aquaculture and ecotourism, as well as for flood control if it's refurbished, and also for water supply later on. Next slide, please. Many examples of convergence projects, such as this one in Midsayap. This is an existing dam for NIA. This is now going to be used for water supply, to supply water to about 70,000 residents of the area. Next slide. Last few examples. This is our proposal for flooding in Marikina River. Instead of putting dikes, we wish to propose a man-made lake in San Mateo that will capture and hold water from going down to Marikina and Pasig. This water can now be used for other purposes, whether it be ecotourism or even aquaculture. Next slide. Here's one example of regional planning that we have done. This is for the whole of Bicol River Basin, wherein we plot out all potential man-made lakes for various purposes, but also including flood control. Finally, next slide. This is an example, and I think you can click on the slide because this is a video. This is one of the projects of DPWH that I should commend. Siguro hindi nagpe-play. Together with NIA, it's a convergence project both for flood control and irrigation. In summary, while ongoing investigations into corruption must continue, we view this as an opportunity to strengthen interagency planning, enhance public accountability through transparency dashboards, and shift towards a more sustainable and integrated approach to flood management and water resources development. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Undersecretary David. Thank you for bringing that to our attention during our DNR hearing and for being here today. All of this information are not new. You were supposed to coordinate with DPWH to present it in the interagency, and was it taken into consideration or totally not used or ignored? And for what reason? Maybe
In the past, it was not considered because the mandates of DPWH and DNR on water resources are disconjuncted. No? They handle flood control and we handle water resources. But now I'm happy to say that we are working with a team in DPWH to do convergence.
that. May you also just cite that perhaps DNR needs to review the ECC requirement, because I am told small flood control projects only apply for certificate of non-coverage, even if by nature they are in critical areas and they're critical projects. So kung non-coverage, walang ECC nga. Yun. Pag maluwag, paano yun? Yes. Thank you.
Ma'am, if I may, you're right po, but can I just state also for the record that in some, like for example, the one in Mindoro, which was it was not a small flood control project, Madam Chair, no? Pero kahit CNC, wala eh. Kahit CNC po, wala. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that. I know, if I may, proceed with my questions. Yes, but the Chair may interrupt me anytime if I am too long. Okay. There was a mention of a DNR WRMO database. I asked this of the DPWH since 2023. And it has evaluated more than 4,000 flood control projects using AI, satellite imagery, geographic information systems. And the results were shared through a dashboard with PMS, DPWH that was mentioned by USEC and DBM. And he said that it remains unused. So the new team, are you aware of the existence of this dashboard? Why has a DPWH not utilized or validated the WRMO's flood project database, and what steps will the DPWH take to integrate the system into project validation, planning, and budget allocation? And whatever the answer is, may I kindly request that you do not just use it for the 2026 moving forward, but since many of the 2025 projects are still either FLR or ongoing, it can be used already. So I'd like to know the answer, please. And the purpose of my question is to determine interagency tools for transparency, verification, so that they are maximized and do not, or we totally avoid the ghost projects or the duplicate projects as stated by the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, ma'am. First of all, I learned about the dashboard maybe a few weeks after I came in. Undersecretary David, as like I said, is a good friend. So he informed me about it. And I saw it, and I sent it immediately to our team. And they have been working. The technical groups have been working since, no? And in fact, tomorrow, with our new OIC on Wednesday, for a new, they will already start presenting recommendations on how to use the data, both in terms of planning moving forward, but also, and I think I made this very clear to the team when I first learned about the findings of the DNR and the WRMO, that we have to apply what the DNR has learned about these flood control projects, even for projects that have already been completed. Why? Because according, and if I may speak frankly, Mr. Chairman, according to USEC David, their evidence shows that not only have some of those flood control projects been useless, but they have become harmful meaning sumama pa yung baha. Dahil nga yung pong ini-explain ni Undersecretary CP kanina na ang mga dike kasi, ang problema dyan, either both rini-restrict ang flow ng tubig, ibig sabihin yung carrying capacity ng mga waterways lumiliit, but ang more harmful doon ay yung pinapabilis niya yung daloy ng tubig o yung velocity of water speeds up. At yun ang mas nakakasira at nakakasama. So, why did I ask for that? Because we are already thinking ahead that with enough data and with enough evidence, maybe we might even need to dismantle some of those flood control projects because of their net harmful effects to the communities and the environment. So, ma'am, that is the purpose. But this is a very, how should I say, it's a very meticulous meticulous process, and it's also a very sensitive process because there are COA issues involved, and alam naman po natin, there are COA rules where you cannot just demolish a project that was built after a certain within a certain period. So there are complexities to this, but we first need to look at the evidence.
They are harmful.
Exactly, ma'am.
If they're harmful,
Absolutely.
kung ikamamatay, ikababaha ng mga barangay at komunidad, kailangan gawing kaagad kung
Correct.
scientifically proven. O kaagad yun.
We
So,
agree po,
yun.
Mr. Chairman and Senator Lauren. This is critical. That's why I think the reports will be presented to me in particular and to the senior team on Wednesday, and we are already currently working not just with DNR but also with the University of the Philippines, particularly with Project NOAA with Professor Mahar Lagmay, as well as one of the renowned hydrologists in the country, Professor Tabios of the University of the Philippines. So we are working with them, and we really need to put some order and some science into this, because clearly there was very little to no science involved in the implementation of these projects. Thank you very much,
I-embed na
ma'am.
nyo si Yusek David sa inyong mga projects.
Kasama
Dapat
po
naman
siya.
may coordination naman talaga eh.
Tama po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Okay, thank you for that. WRMO's evaluation shows that 42% of the projects reviewed were unconstructed, duplicated, or already existing, yet some were declared completed and paid for. So may I know, how are these projects cleared for payment and certification despite being absent or duplicated? And can you use the systems to demand project completion, case building, and or restitution? So the purpose of this question is to assess the adequacy of DPWH project validation and internal audit mechanisms so that we can prevent the continued misuse of public funds. The accountability of duplicated projects, although you somehow answered that, but can you kindly assure us of the use of the evaluation of WRMO?
We assure you, Madam Senator, and we assure the committee that from here on, the DPWH will work very, very closely with the DNR and specifically the WRMO, because we are in total agreement. In fact, the project that was the last slide of Yusek David, the project in Claveria, the Union water impounding joint project of DPWH, was in fact visited by the President 2 weeks ago, and we consider it one of the more successful not only flood control but water impounding and irrigation in one. And we feel that with the help of the DNR and other experts, we can really guide and plan our flood mitigation program towards these types of projects and no longer those that we have seen in the past couple of years. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you for that.